Welcome to the Community Difference, Collin County. The show where community comes first, leadership is amplified, and impact is the expectation, not the exception. Covering 12 thriving municipalities across Collin County, we spotlight the professionals, creatives, nonprofit leaders, and bold connectors who are shaping the future of North Texas. From McKinney to Melissa, from Plano to Prosper, from Frisco to Fairview. Each episode dives into the issues that matter most to our local business and civic communities. From leadership and entrepreneurship to education, economic growth, service, innovation, and the power of collaboration. If it impacts how we live, lead, or grow in Collin County, we talk about it. The Community Difference is powered by the Business Development Alliance and made possible by the Difference Media LLC. With a trusted team of co-hosts who live, work, and lead in the communities we serve, this show is built on collaboration and powered by people who care. Now, getting today's conversation started, your host, Brian Poduska.
In Collin County, we are coming at you semi-live. This is actually recorded, but hopefully you're watching this on Thursday live. I've got a couple more special guests this week as we highlight the PGA of America and our partnership with them, along with the KPMG Women's Championship and Women's PGA Championship, as we spotlighted last week and are doing so again this week. So I'm going to introduce my two special guests here. We've got literally the number one ranked 17-year-old golfer in the world sitting right next to me. His name is Luke Colton. I'm going to go through some of his bio here with some of the accolades that makes him the number one ranked 17-year-old in the world who happens to be living right here in Frisco, going to Wakeland High School. So, Luke Colton, as I mentioned, number one ranked 17-year-old in the world, Frisco's own Wakeland High School class of 2026, Vanderbilt University commit, 2 times Terra Cotta Invitational champion in 24 and 25, 2 times Texas UIL 5A individual state champion 24 and 25, and special mention the other 2 that have accomplished that, world number 1 player named Scotty Scheffler, and Jordan Spieth, Dallas' own as well. So I think you mentioned they're 3-time winners, so yeah. Luke will be going for number 3 this year. We got USA Junior President's Cup 2024, USGA U.S. National Development Team 2024, AJGA Rolex First Team All-American, and last but not least, Frisco Cup Champion 2024. And what that is all the Frisco high schools competing against each other right here at PGA of America at the Fields West and Fields East course across 2 days, correct? Mm-hmm. And you only won that by a total of 13 strokes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that should cover it. That's why we've got one of the best golfers at his age in the world here, living in Frisco. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. I do want to give Jim an intro as well. So Jim Colton, who is Luke's dad. In addition to Luke, we've got Jim Colton, and my friend. He's a golf dad, he's a golf podcast host, a sports data nerd, and believe it or not, a gangster rap extraordinaire. I mean, just look at him, right?
Yeah.
So after taking his first L on the golf course to his own son, Jim knows all about the highs and humbling moments of raising a junior golf champion in Frisco. If you want the real scoop on what it's like to balance fatherhood, fairways, and a mic, Jim is your guy, and here he is. So, gentlemen, again, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having
us. Little bit of fun up front, right? But we've known each other a long time. So we happen to live in Frisco again. Live together in the same area, but we grew up in the Chicago area, met each other at the University of Illinois, have a lot of the same friends. We've knocked around a few different golf courses in our time. But, with that, I also love the fact that you are a left-handed golfer.
I am.
You are a left-handed golfer.
Yep.
I happen to be a left-handed golfer. We all live in Frisco, so we're out recruiting one more left-handed golfer to try to field the best left-handed foursome in Frisco. All right, so if you know one, go ahead and type it in the comments and let us know.
We're taking out all comers.
All comers. I'll be the D player. I can't hold a candle to these guys, but we just need one more left-handed golfer. But again, kind of all joking aside, what was it, 2020 when you guys moved to Frisco? Is that right?
Yeah, it was during COVID. So we started looking at houses the winter before COVID hit, and so it would be 5 years. We moved to July 1st.
Yeah.
This year. Yeah.
And I was blessed enough to help you guys buy that house as your realtor. I remember one of the key requirements of any home that we looked at was, okay, great open floor plan, great kitchen, but the one thing Jim wanted to make sure is that it had a movie room or a media room big enough to convert into a golf simulator room, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because we still joke about it today because, we would look at beautiful homes, right? But some of those homes, we would be in there for literally 30 seconds.
Right.
So we'd get in the house, first thing we do is we go up the stairs to the media room, check out the heights of the ceiling. I mean, you and I, like a couple of times we went up into the rafters to see if anything could be adjusted necessarily. But sometimes we just walked out of that house like 30, 60 seconds in.
Well, and I like that because it made my job that much easier. Like, all right, this one's off the list. Yeah. The ceilings are only 10 feet tall, not 12 or whatever. It's not long enough. It had to be at least, whatever it was, 20 feet long and hopefully not have multiple levels. But so we finally found the one. You ended up with an awesome house in Frisco here. Tell us about what the draw was for Frisco, for your family in particular.
Yeah, sure. But I don't know if I can say this any more plainly. We moved to Frisco, Texas because of this facility here. So I had an opportunity, work for JP Morgan for all of my career until recently, and had an opportunity to relocate from Chicago. And we have different satellite offices, so there were different options. Like we was looking at Ohio, potentially Wilmington, Delaware, or Texas. And Luke and I, both being avid golfers, like Texas was kind of our first choice, right? But then as I researched it, then I realized, hey, the PGA of America is moving their headquarters to Frisco. So that kind of checked the box. And so the more I looked into that facility and the timing of it, initially was going to be right when Luke was starting high school was when it was going to open. And so it just seemed to check all the boxes. And then, then we were looking at houses sort of in the area, but like Frisco was really because of the draw of this facility and the ability for Luke's, when he was going to be a high school golfer to play and practice here.
Right here.
I mean, we had to move somewhere in Frisco, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I think one of your finalists happened to be out in Fairview, and you were doing the math trying to figure out, where you were going to be taking lessons, which,
right.
At the time, I'm not sure if you're still taking them there, but over at Old American. And that was one of those, okay, if I do the math in my head, that's at least a 45-minute drive, throw in, rush hour traffic, and the math didn't work. And then you layer on the fact that, okay, now where you guys are at in Frisco, it's probably, 15 minutes max from here. And you get to play the PGA courses, as part of your high school development, which is so unique to the city of Frisco. It just underscores the fact that drove the nail.
Well, I have to say, I thank you for finding our house because it went on the market after we did our home visit a couple of days later, and one of the offers we made had fallen through. And you went out and you did like a FaceTime tour for us. And it turned out it checked all the boxes. It was exactly what we wanted. And I think if you look now, like I remember on Google Earth, like drawing these circles like within this 15-minute radius of my office, the golf course where he plays, and this facility. And if you look at where our house is now, it's like smack dab triangulated between those three.
Yeah. I wish I could claim that I knew that at the time, but no, I just, it all worked out really well. And, obviously super happy to have you guys in Frisco and glad to hear, things are going really well from a golf standpoint. And then also that your house is pretty awesome. I just got to say. All right. So let's focus the discussion over to you, Luke. I want to talk just really about, I remember back shortly after you guys moved to Frisco, right? It was super gracious of you to invite me out and play golf with you guys over at Old American. And, you know, I can swing a golf club, but I'm not the greatest golfer. I'm not the worst golfer. Jim has always been way better than me at golf. And then at some point in your career, you've, you know, consistently can beat Dad now. But I remember back, I think you were in, what, 6th grade going into 7th grade over that summer, if I remember right. Yeah. So middle schooler. And now, granted, I think you were playing from the up tees at that point. Maybe not. I could be wrong. But in any case, you were out driving me at that age, and your short game was miles ahead of mine. So I think back then, and you know, you were wiping me all over the course, and you were keeping pace with your dad. Now you're obviously considered world class based on all those accolades that I read earlier. So, question for you, Luke: what are the 3 key things that have helped you? Taking you from that level to now kind of that world-class level?
Yeah, I think once I started playing, I played a lot of sports growing up. I played baseball, basketball. I think that really helped me just on the athletic side of things. And then once I started taking golf more serious, especially when I moved here with the warmer weather, I think that was a big reason as to why I got a lot better in these last few years. I'd say another thing is just kind of committing to the work that has to be done. You know, there's a lot of kids that want to be good, so there's a lot of kids that are working hard. You just got to work that much harder to, you know, try to up yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, love it.
And I'd say the last thing is probably just enjoying the game, having a love for the game. You know,
Good.
You're out there for all these hours, and you won't be doing that if you didn't enjoy it.
Good. Well, I love to hear that last one. Second one is kind of that Mamba mentality, right? Outwork your competition.
Yeah.
But I think that last one is the most important. If you're not having fun, it ain't worth it.
Yeah.
So love to hear that. All right, cool. So obviously you don't get there alone, right? So next question for you: who've been the most influential coaches or mentors in your journey along the way?
Well, my dad, he started me in the game, so that's where I kind of have to give my props to.
There we go.
But once we moved down here, I found a really good coach, Andrew Lewis. He's really helped me just in every way in my golf game. He's been really supportive. Then my high school coach, Coach Austin, he's always really supported me, even when I'm traveling. You know, I miss a lot of practice, a lot of high school practice, but he's always supportive of what I'm doing.
That's good to hear. Well, I want to harken back on what you said about being a multi-sport athlete. It's good to hear that was influential in your golf development, because this is just in my own personal opinion, but I think that in youth sports, you know, we specialize too early in a lot of these sports, and having that solid base of athleticism doesn't come from just playing one sport. So I wanted to touch on that because I heard you say it, and I was like, man, that's a good point. So, all right, cool. So let's talk about what your practice day looks like. You said you outwork the competition, which is awesome. So what does your typical practice day look like?
So, I mean, I'll probably wake up around 8 o'clock, like to get my sleep. So, wake up about 8, go to the course about 9. So, I'll practice there. I'll do chipping for a while, probably an hour and a half. Putt for probably about an hour and a half. Then I'll go eat lunch, hit balls. Then I'll probably go play 9 or 18, depends how busy the course is. I'd say that's a pretty normal routine for me. I think that kind of covers all the areas of my game, and be able to get 9 or 18 holes, it really helps.
We never wait for dinner for Luke. We would never eat.
So you're hoping that he's making money on the course to pay for dinner, just you know, because just a kid, and then you take all their money and pay for dinner.
Yeah,
is that how it goes? Yeah. No, that's okay. So you're grinding. I mean, what it comes down to is you're grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, like you mentioned, the love for the game. Like what I observed for Luke is the grind isn't a grind to him.
Yeah.
The grind is sort of like this. This is what I was born to do. This is what I was made to do.
Yeah.
Like he enjoys the process of getting better, and he's willing to put in those hours because it doesn't feel like work to him. I mean, he's been like that his entire life, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good distinction, because I took that as the grind, meaning that it's the grind of getting better.
Yeah.
And when you're doing it with something you love, you're right. It isn't a grind, you know, in the negative sense. No, so that's awesome. All right. So as you look ahead, right, you're a Vanderbilt commit for next year, maybe possibly beyond that, right? What are your short-term goals? So I think I could think of one of them that has a 3 by it, right? 3X maybe.
Yep.
Hopefully that's one of them. But what are your short-term and long-term goals with the sport?
Yeah, I'd say for junior golf, I have 1 more year, so I'd love to get a few more wins in my belt, you know, especially at state championship, some other high-level junior tournaments. And then once I go to college, hoping to compete for national championships, both individually and as a team. And then, you know, there's a lot of programs through college where you can kind of excel your pro career. So if I have success in college, I'll be able to hopefully go on the PGA Tour pretty soon.
That'd be awesome. So I didn't prep you on this one, but why did you choose Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a great school, academic and golf, some of the top programs in the nation. Just recently got a new golf facility. It's really cool. Nashville's a really nice town.
Sure
I
is.
love the coaches, just everything about it. Once I got my visit, stepped foot on campus, I kind of knew that was a place for me.
Cool. I like hearing that. You kind of know when you know, and sounds like it hit you. That's awesome. All right, little teaching moment for you. What advice would you give to other young golfers aspiring to reach your level, especially those balancing school, travel, and training?
I'd say one thing I learned is don't afraid to be different from other kids. You know, if you want to be better than everybody, you can't do the same thing. Although it might look weird, or you know, you get into the course every day while other kids aren't. I think that that's a really big piece of advice that can help some of these juniors. And like I said before, you gotta enjoy it, keep it fun. So whatever you gotta do, whether it's playing with friends or stuff like that, I think that's probably the 2 biggest things that would help a junior.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, I'm going to have a fun question for you here. If you've been paying attention to youth golf, the one who made the headlines a few weeks ago, Charlie Woods, who's Tiger's son, right? He won an event on the AJGA tour here. I don't know what his ranking is now, but I know you're in the top 5. So the question for you is, and you're a humble kid, so you feel free to answer this however you want, but how fun is it to consistently beat Tiger's kids in this event?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he beat me last week, so
it happens.
Yeah, I played with him before. He's a really nice kid, and you know, it's kind of crazy that he's Tiger's son. Just like, you know, greatest of all time is his son is there. So yeah, you know, it doesn't really matter who it is. I'm trying to beat them every week. So
that's awesome. Well, so you mentioned that. It's got to be pretty cool to have Tiger show up at a lot of these events, right?
Yeah. Last year at US Junior, I was like 5 tee times ahead of him, and I see just like 5,000 people up on the first tee. I'm like, what in the world is going on? This is crazy.
Well, it gives you a little preparation for when the crowds get bigger, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
That's crazy.
I never thought about that aspect, but
We have a little video because there were parallel holes when Luke was teeing off, and Luke smashes a driver like on the second tee, and Charlie and Tiger this was a practice round, but they were on the adjacent green, and Luke hits, and then you could see in the video like Tiger turns his head because he hears this sound, and he turns his head to see where the ball is going. So that was kind of neat.
Well, it's good to catch Tiger's eye every once in a while, I guess, in the golf course. That's awesome. Well, it's cool to hear those inside stories. All right, your last question is a fun one, right? So outside of golf, you got to have a little bit of fun. What does Luke like to do as a Wakeland High School student here in Frisco?
Probably the biggest thing I'm doing right now is playing basketball. I like to play basketball with my friends, pickleball, stuff like that. Just getting outside, nice weather, so do whatever I can, just hanging out.
Well, that's good. Get it in now before it gets too hot. It's another one that your dad's pretty good at is basketball. That's one I can hang with you. I can't hang on the golf course, but I can hang on the basketball course or court. All right, cool. Well, those are going to be all the questions directly for you, Luke. So thank you for those answers. Very, very good answers, very mature answers. So I can see why you're successful, not just at golf, but at your academics as well. Jim, I want to ask you a few questions before we get you out of here, but kind of from a sports dad, and whether it's your kid is one of the best in the world or your kid is just into sports and passionate about it. But from your perspective, when did you first realize that Luke had a special talent for golf, and how did you help nurture that in the early days?
Oh man, I kind of knew early on because, he's the youngest of our three, and the other two, I would take them to the golf course or the driving range, and they would enjoy it for sure while they were there, but they always thought about like what they could be doing elsewhere. So it was a little bit of a chore to get them in the car, but once they got there, they enjoyed it. And they don't play actively now, but like Luke, is 5 years younger than his older brother and 3 years younger than his older sister. Before I could even utter the words, like, you want to go to the golf course, like, he's got his clubs and he's on his way to get in the car. And, I always say, like, there's really two types of kids. There's kids you have to drag to practice, and there's kids you have to drag from practice.
Yeah.
Like, Luke was always the latter. So, like, Sue, my wife, Luke's mom, she always just knew that, like, we'd be home at 8:30 or whatever, because, like, he would never want to leave. So I think in terms of like just giving them the space and the opportunity to have fun with the game, explore the game, I would come up with mini competition, and when he was younger, I would give him like probably a 70% chance of winning, but I'm still trying to beat him, And so I think that really fueled a lot of this. It's like his competitive drive, I think he gets from me, but then he's got this like artistic ability. My wife's an artist around just exploring golf shots and the artistic kind of mastery of those shots, even around the green. Like, he exhibited that from a really young age. Like, what 5 or 6 year old can like shape the ball like at will.
I can't even think about doing it myself at this age. So to see it at that young of an age, that is an art. Yeah, that's cool.
And he was always like locked in. Like, you bring him on the golf course, like he hit one shot, and he'd immediately pull the club he would need for the next shot.
Yeah.
Like, he was always very locked in on the golf course.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, so with that, how do you balance being supportive and involved in his golf journey while also giving him that independence and develop independently?
Yeah, I mean, I think when he was a little bit younger, like Luke's kind of a people pleaser. Like, he's definitely a rule follower by nature. So I think, my wife and I would suggest things for him, and he more or less would go along with it because it's kind of the right thing to do. And, but after a while, like, we've had to just allow him to own things. So, we check in every once in a while, but really, like, he owns his schedule, he owns his workouts. Like, if he needs something, he brings it up to us, like, hey, can you take care of this? Or like, I gotta pay for this tournament registration, or we gotta book this travel. And he's getting pulled in a bunch of different directions now, like being on the U.S. junior national team, like staying on top of the demands of that and the schedule of that.
Oh, we had to talk to your handler to get you in here. I'm kidding.
Yeah. And, I think, so it's just like giving him the room to grow.
Yeah.
So, for us, and now that he's committed to college, is just hopefully preparing him to make that transition from high school to college, being on his own, college golf. And, the coaches are hoping that he's going to come right in and be one of their star players right away. So that leap is not always easy for incoming freshmen. So we're trying to like equip him, with the tools to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And that's all part of growing up, right? And the earlier you learn that maturity, especially going into college, if you've got that foundation and groundwork already laid, then you're already a step ahead, regardless of how good your golf game is. So that's good to hear. All right, so is the level that you're playing at, and a lot of these tournaments, right? There's a lot of travel involved and all that. So sometimes as a parent, I found myself doing this too, where you just don't take a moment to stop and smell the roses and think about, and be grateful for what you're a part of. So a question for you, Jim. What's been the most rewarding aspect of watching this journey as a dad and just as kind of stepping back?
Yeah. Well, I would say someone who is, you probably know, I love golf probably more than just about anybody.
Yes, you do.
To see somebody, any young person kind of grow with the passion of the game is super rewarding and just really fulfilling to be around. So like, Luke energizes and keeps me on my toes, holds me, I hold myself to a high standard just because he holds himself to a high standard.
Yeah.
And he, like Andrew that you mentioned earlier, and some of the team that he has around him, like I see him bring out the best in all of us, which is really, really cool to see from a young person. But I think as far as like a golf experience standpoint, some of the experiences he's had already, being on some of these U.S. national teams, the Junior President's Cup, he's gearing up for the Junior Ryder Cup, hopefully to make that at Bethpage Black this fall. He's played in 2 U.S. amateurs. He'll be playing in the U.S. amateur this fall. The U.S. Junior coming up will be his 3rd U.S. Junior. He's here at Trinity Forest. So, and that'll be his last kind of hurrah in the U.S. Junior scene. So I can honestly remember him checking in at the U.S. amateur last fall and just going through the registration process, and they sign their name on this thing, and you see the scrolls. Like you might see them in clubhouses and stuff for courses that have hosted these things. And I was just at the table, and I just started crying. Like the weight of kind of that accomplishment happening so soon. I thought that he would probably play in a U.S. amateur at some point. Like I didn't think he'd be playing in 3 of them by the age of 18.
Yeah.
So it's just absolutely incredible. And for me, to me, he's already won in the game. So anything that he does from this point on, it's just gravy from my perspective as a golf dad. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right, so obviously a lot of high-level tournaments, a lot of potential proud dad moments and all of that. What's your one favorite moment for whether it doesn't even have to be a golf related one, but what's your one favorite moment from this journey?
Well, I don't caddy that often for him. We've got a close friend that caddies a lot of the big events for him, but I caddied for him for the last 2 U.S. amateur qualifiers, which he made it through, and there have been, I could name any handful of times, but where Luke has been up against it. And in this particular qualifier, I think he double bogeyed the 14th hole, and it looked like he was outside the cut number. And I helped him kind of get refocused on hey, we got a couple par 5s left. We just need to get to this number. And then he just goes out and birdies 4 of the last 5 holes. And there's times where you just see this, and that there's something special there. You know that there's something God-given there, and it's just awesome just to be around when you observe it. He's able to tap into this hyper focus and be able to elevate his game. Not all the time, but when he needs to do it, he's able to respond, and I think that's just a gift.
That's special.
I don't know how else to explain it.
That's awesome. Okay, so your teaching moment. So as a parent with a kiddo who's going places, right? What advice would you offer to other families with kids who show promise in golf or for any other high-level sport or any other sport for that matter?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit. I think just giving them the room to grow and explore. Even now, I think I still see it as Luke is in the sandbox. He's still exploring and seeing what's possible in the game. Even though he's playing in some high-level tournaments, at the end of the day, a lot of them don't really matter. You're not going to really remember who won or lost this tournament. So it's more about what did you get out of that experience? How did it help you get better? So we always try to take a long-term focus on win or lose, regardless of what tournament he's in. What can we learn from that and take it into the next tournament? So I think that's probably the biggest advice. Is it's very easy to get into the trophies and the wins and losses. The other thing that I probably do, which is a little abnormal, is I actively root for his competitors. I don't see golf as a zero-sum game. I would be open and willing to help out his 10 closest counterparts in order for them to elevate, knowing that that's going to make Luke get that much better.
Yeah.
So I'm not really afraid of someone getting ahead of him or Charlie beating him. Therefore, Luke's coming in second. I hope Charlie turns out to be a world beater, because then I know Luke will have to respond.
Yeah, that's a heck of a mindset right there. I like that. Awesome. Well, you mentioned earlier, Jim, that you're retired from J.P. Morgan, and we've got a few minutes left here in the interview. So I also mentioned in your intro, you're a bit of a data nerd, you're a bit of a golf nerd, you're to the point where you've had it going for over a year now, I believe, the Golf Podcast.
Yep.
What's it called?
Driven Golf Podcast.
Driven Golf Podcast, check it out.
Yeah.
And where can they find it?
Both Spotify and Apple. And
Okay.
so Luke mentioned his instructor, Andrew Lewis. We do a segment in each episode geared towards junior golf development as well.
Cool. And I know since you've got a little bit more time on your hands, having officially retired from JP Morgan, I know you've combined a lot of those passions and skill sets of your own.
Yeah.
What are you working on nowadays?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of this is really just motivated by seeing Luke and others that I've spoken to through the podcast, just being impacted by the amount of drive and just like going all in the name of golf, right? And really what I felt is like I needed to be chasing my passions as well. So like you said, I'm really big into data analytics, use it to help him and a few other junior golfers through their journey. And now that I have time on my hands, I've decided to just go all in on that. So I built out this platform, driven.golf. We'll be launching a stats platform for stat tracking, analytics, and then we'll be working with elite juniors, elite amateurs, and some college programs as well.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, like I said, I remember back in the day when I used to tap on you to get some insider info on fantasy basketball leagues, right? So it's good to see you're actually putting it to good use now instead of funding my habits. But awesome. Well, gentlemen, we're about out of time, but Luke, really good getting in depth with you today. So, gentlemen, appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks.
Best of luck to you this coming weekend. Oh, I did want to ask one more question. So, last weekend you were in Scotland for a tournament?
Yep.
This weekend you got one coming up?
Yep.
All right, so what else is on the agenda? Hopefully the Ryder Cup, maybe? Junior Ryder Cup later on?
That's the big goal, yeah.
Okay, cool. So just golf trips this summer, nothing else
It's
outside?
all golf. Kind of a traveling circus in amateur golf, yeah.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thanks again for being here today, and look forward to watching your career as it develops, and let's get out on the golf course, all right? All
Let's
three
do
of
it.
us, we just need one more lefty, and we'll be the best in Frisco, all right?
All right, that's good.
Awesome.
The community
See ya.
difference, Collin County, was made possible by Brian Poduska with Real Property Management Focus, Bethany Ralwin with the Beer Ralwin Realty Group, Jacqueline Kreider with Financial Mastery Simplified, Debbie Watson with Abracadoodle, and by Lauren Gill with My Live, Love, Travel. The community difference, Collin County. Together, we can make the difference.